Now, Russia flew a military observation plane over Washington, D.C. near the Pentagon and CIA headquarters before moving on to New Jersey on Wednesday. Under the Open Skies Treaty, 34 countries, including the US and Russia, allow member states to conduct unarmed observation flights to promote transparency. US defense officials say that the jet had full clearance. Well, to get more on this story, I'm now joined by Richard Weitz from the Hudson Institute. So on the face of it then, nothing too extraordinary about that. This airplane did have clearance. Is that the whole story, or is there something else going on there? I think we're having trouble hearing. Richard, can you hear me? I was just saying that on the face of it, this aeroplane did have clearance. Is that the whole story, or given heightened tensions between the US and Russia, is there something else going on there?
Yeah, sorry, I hear you now. This is a long-standing treaty. In the past, it hasn't been too controversial. The countries want to make sure that their neighbors or potential adversaries are not preparing to attack them, and they use several means to do this, including exchanges of data, notifications of exercises, and permitting the overflight of satellites and, in this case, airplanes. And so this was developed decades ago when tensions were low. But in recent years, all these treaties have become more controversial. The U.S. is charged that Russia has been violating some of the treaties, such as the INF Treaty. President Trump has indicated a lack of enthusiasm for continuing others. And so this treaty has also fallen under a bit of a cloud. The U.S. complaint has sometimes been Russia's violating certain parts of the treaty, limiting overflights, for example, near its border with Georgia. But the more fundamental questions come up is, since our relations are so poor, why do we want Russia planes allowed to fly over the U.S.? And so far the answer is because then Russia allows the planes of not so much the U.S., which since we have satellites, but the planes of other European countries to fly over Russia, which lack the U.S. capabilities, Poland, some of the Baltic states. But it is contested now, and I think today's event is going to make this even more a contested issue in Washington because it highlights the treaty.
And presumably, I mean, are law enforcement agencies given much notice of this?
Yes, we aren't, as the general public told, until after the fact what happened. But yes, they were told there was going to be this plane in certain airspace. It was going to make these low flights. Don't be concerned. You're not allowed to deliberately try and hide and conceal things from the plane, but they give you a couple hours notice just so you don't try and shoot it down or interpret it as a terrorist plane or something like that.
The director of the US Defense Intelligence Agency has expressed concern, as you alluded to there, that Russia is taking advantage of the treaty. Do you expect then that things might change in the future and they may not be given this freedom to do so?
That's a very good question. In the Obama administration, the defense intelligence community and others said, well, on balance, it's, again, useful to have these kinds of exchanges because they're reciprocal. It helps our allies gain more intelligence on Russia. There are more countries want to overfly Russia, many, many more overfly Russia than overfly the U.S. It's really just Russia and a couple of its allies that overfly the U.S. The Trump administration, though, is developing a new approach to arms control, a lot less enthusiasm about these kind of data sharings and wanting to keep costs down and so on. So I think this could really become an issue. They're reviewing all these treaties, relations with Russia, arms control policies now, and we should know the results of those reviews in a few months.
And what sort of real concrete intelligence might we have expect the Russians to have got from this latest flight?
Right. The Russians have developed very highly accurate cameras and other kinds of sensors that can detect heat, movement, probably nuclear storage sites, and so on. So they will collect a lot of information from these kind of flights. But the question is, does it give them anything they can't collect through satellites, for example, which always overfly the U.S. and they're just, because we don't see them, they're just not noticed. And we don't know. Their thinking is they gain some information, but nothing military significant. But again, that's probably going to be one of the issues that's going to be reviewed.
Okay, Richard Weitz, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.